Hello everybody, I hope you're well. We are carrying on with our work on Language Paper 1 question 5 and we're going to look today at being able to spot and use extended metaphors. We looked at this last lesson, we're going to sort of use this as our things that we're focusing on, getting ready for question 5. And today we're going to look at a range of language techniques, but we're going to focus in particular on those extended metaphors. It's sort of a higher level language feature to be using, and it can be used really, really effectively. Okay, before I start looking at the idea of the extended metaphor, I'm best off reminding myself what a metaphor is. So a metaphor is a comparison between two unlike things, two things that aren't the same, which does not use the words like or as. Here are some examples. I cried a river of tears. Love is a fruit in season at all times, and he had the heart of a lion. So they're all just comparing one thing to something else that it isn't. Okay, so an extended metaphor is when we take that idea of the metaphor but we stretch it. So we use that same metaphor repeatedly, and that might happen throughout a paragraph or a number of paragraphs, or it might happen throughout the whole piece of writing. That will be up to you to decide. Why is it worth looking at? So it's an impressive and advanced technique. So we could definitely use it in our writing sections in both language papers. It works as a fiction language feature, but also as a non-fiction language feature. So it's a really useful thing to look at. But it also features massively in poetry, and very, very frequently we find that the unseen poem in your literature exam includes an extended metaphor. So we'll be applying it today, but in the future you could be looking to spot these things in the poems that you come across. Okay, so what do you do? How do you come up with them? So I've got a picture there. It's a snowy sea and got a lot of snow on the ground. Feels quite fitting because I had lots of snow recently. So what I do is I think, right, what could I compare the snow to? Right, the easiest one that jumps out to me is the idea of snow being like a blanket. Okay, so the snow is a blanket on the ground. I go, okay, what words do I associate with blanket? And I've come up with some here. So the idea of warmth, bed, being wrapped up, being cosy, and being covered. Those are the words that I'd associate with blanket. So I'm going to use those words in a paragraph, and then I've taken that idea of the snow being like a blanket on the ground and I've extended it, I've stretched that out further. Right, so here's an example of how I take that idea of blanket and all the words that are associated with and I turn it into a paragraph. So the white snow was a uniform blanket on the ground, as if the whole forest had gone to bed. Wrapped up in its cosy covering, the forest looked serene and peaceful. Really straightforward one. Taking the idea of a blanket, several sentences, stretching that out, extending that metaphor, just that little bit more sophisticated and that little bit more impressive for your examiners. Right, so here's a different example. I wanted to show you how you can use it in non-fiction as well as fiction. So this is an extended metaphor about public speaking. The first time I grasped the handlebars of public speaking, I wobbled quite a bit. While I continued to be unsure and a bit scared each time I climbed in the saddle, the fear subsided a little each time as well. I began unclenching my hands from the brakes, and before long I was coasting downhill at exhilarating speeds. Today, every once in a while I encounter a pothole that makes me crash into the ground. What do? I get right back up, dust myself off, change gears, and give it another shot. So it's an extended metaphor, bearing the idea of public speaking to riding a bike. Just showing you that kind of that this language feature will work in fiction writing and non-fiction writing, so it's a really useful one for us to be focusing on. Okay, here are really common extended metaphors. So extended metaphors that lots of people use, and we find that actually you can use across a range of different images or story types. So one of them is the idea of prison, that you're being trapped somewhere. You can extend that idea quite easily. Another one is the idea of this, a setting being a battlefield, somebody being a soldier, there being a war that people are taking part in. That's a really effective extended metaphor that you could probably stretch throughout an entire piece of writing. There's the idea of the predator and prey. There's personification. Personification is a type of metaphor. It's where we compare something to a human. So we could describe a house as being like an old man or an old lady. The other one that people quite often like to use is the idea of Mother Nature, that they personify weather and the natural world as a mother figure, and that works very effectively too. Okay, task for today then. I would like you to have a look at this image and write a paragraph or two where you use an extended metaphor. Which extended metaphor is going to work most effectively here? We're probably going to focus on that sky. What is that sky reminding you of? Which words do we associate with that particular thing? Can you stretch it throughout your writing? Not going to ask for a submission today. Always happy to mark anything. If you want to send it to me to check if it works, please feel free to do so. But I'm not going to insist that you do that today. The work that we are doing on question 5 is building up, and I'm going to ask you to write a full question 5 response in a few lessons' time. Hope you're all okay. Let me know if you need anything.